This is a scene from the movie The Vow, starring Rachel McAdams and Channing Tatum. After getting into a serious car accident, the female protagonist develops amnesia and her long-term memories before the accident are completely wiped out. She has no memory of her parents, her friends, or even her husband. But something tells me this is not the kind of movie where they line stick to just showing her old photo albums to recover those memories. This is Hollywood, after all. So of course, her husband, played by Channing Tatum, decides to take matters into his own hands and reintroduce her to their life together by staging these elaborate recreations of their past. He stages these scenes with the help of his tech-savvy friend, hoping that if Paige is reintroduced to the right stimuli, she remember what happened between them and who she is. In one scene, he even goes as far as to hire actors to play the roles of her old friends from college so that she can be coaxed into remembering. And it works. She starts to remember bits and pieces of her life before the accident. Now, this movie is obviously a work of fiction, but it does touch on some very real psychological concepts. One of the most interesting questions the movie raises is whether or not any of us really know if we're remembering things accurately. Are our memories as reliable as we think they are? Or can they be manipulated just like in the movie? The answer, it turns out, is that our memories are not only malleable, they're downright deceptive. Memories are not like video files stored on our computer that can be rewatched and are always exactly the same. Instead, memories are more like stories that we tell ourselves. And like any story, they can change over time depending on the details we choose to focus on and leave out. When we recall a memory, we're actually reconstructing it based on the information that's available to us at the time. We might have bits of the actual events stored in our brain, but how we interpret that information and make sense of it is up to us. In other words, we fill in the blanks based on what we already know and what we think probably happened. So when someone tries to introduce new information to us about an event or experience, we might accept that information and incorporate it into our memories, even if it wasn't there to begin with. That's why it worked for the protagonist in The Vow. By recreating certain scenarios from her past, she was able to fill in the gaps in her memory with new information and create new memories based on that information. But this also means that memories can be taken away from us just as easily as they can be added. Certain details can be suppressed or forgotten, and new details can be introduced and accepted as part of the original event. And this isn't just a theoretical idea. It's been shown in studies that memories can be changed through a process called memory reconsolidation. When we recall a memory, it becomes destabilized, and then we have the opportunity to either add new information to it or take away old information. So it is possible that we could forget entire events or experiences if they were destabilized often enough and new information was introduced to replace the old. This could explain why some people forget traumatic events or why repressed memories are sometimes unreliable. So do we ever really know if we're remembering things accurately? If we can't trust our memories, then what can we trust? Well, it turns out that we can trust our senses. Our memories may be stories that we tell ourselves, but they're stories that are grounded in reality. They may be influenced by our beliefs and expectations, but they're still based on what we've experienced. At the end of the day, we may not be able to remember everything perfectly, but we can trust that what we remember is at least partly true. So the next time you find yourself questioning whether or not you really did experience something, remember that your memories may not be perfect, but they're not entirely made up either. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other videos on psychology and make sure to subscribe to our channel.